Hey everyone, welcome back. So today I'm here with a budget Toxic Rain League starter that you guys can start. Now I want to make a few disclaimers here. This build is not going to be able to do like Awakening 8 content. It's basically only going to be able to do yellow and white maps. And from there, you're going to want to make a few upgrades. I'm not going to go through all the upgrades this video because this video is mainly about how you can get it going, what you should do on League Start and everything like that. So this PoB is going to be very different to the endgame PoB. This is because we want to scale damage as much as possible. As you can see here, we've taken frenzy charges on the tree, and I'm going to explain almost everything here, and the gear as well. Now, there is one expense that you're going to have to deal with, unfortunately, but hopefully if you run enough white maps early on and yellow maps, then it shouldn't be too big of a deal for you to get that. So the plus side of this is that you don't need a tabula. The downside of this is that you need a 6-link bow. So I'll be telling you the easiest and cheapest ways that you could potentially get one early on, and hopefully it'll help you guys out. Now, it's still going to be quite expensive, guys, and yeah, just keep in mind it might be a little rough. So, first of all, the PoB is now updated with the new damage support gems, like as in with all the mana increases and all the damage lowered. So this is very accurate DPS compared to before where I was just guessing everything. So the PoB update is out and it's really, really cool. Now, the only thing I haven't done in this build guide or like build PoB is I haven't done the resist. Now, you really want your fire, cold, and lightning res at 75. Just saying, just for any new players, if they're watching, you do need that. But other than that, I have not really missed anything out. And config wise, I have set everything up as well, so don't worry about that. Okay, so let's start off with the tree. So I really wanted to make this build tanky, and by making it tanky, we made it fully element immune. Now, element immunity has been very different now, and they said they were going to make some ways to compensate for element immunity on the tree, but they really didn't. It's kind of ridiculous. The only element avoid nodes on the tree are exactly the same as before. Maybe they added one, but it's terrible. So anyway, we get 50% from Avatar of the Veil. So 50% avoid chance. We get some from thick skin, and we take crystal skin, and to get the remaining 10%, we take elemental focus. This is really troll, but it's the easiest way without getting the craft to get 100% avoid on Raider. If you see the calcs and we go to other avoidance over here, I don't know why it's hidden, you can see that we're shock, freeze, chill, and ignite. And if I undo LE focus, you will see that we're still freeze and chill avoid, but we don't have the ignite and shock. And we path anyway to go to Method of the Madness here, so it's not a big deal. You know, to take this node. If we weren't pathing to growth and decay, sorry, not Method of Madness, growth and decay. If we weren't pathing here, then it would be more questionable, and then you could probably undo this whole thing and take the ignite and shock avoid on these ones with 2 points. But since we're pathing there anyway, it's not that big of a deal to do that. So this is a level 93 tree. I know it's a little high, but it's really as best as I can make it, because there was just too many important points to take, and without taking them, you know, it feels really bad. So yeah, so now you're probably gonna be wondering, how do we tackle the insane mana problem? We have 135 mana cost, guys. This is ridiculous. This is like crazy. It's never been this high, and even with minus mana cost, you're not going to be anywhere close to 0 mana cost anymore on Toxic Rain. Unfortunately, those days are now over until they either make changes to the mana or something else happens to the mana, because it's just terrible. So the way we combat this is using Lifetap. Lifetap is a very powerful support gem, and in the config you have to enable do you have Lifetap, otherwise it won't show as giving any damage. And basically, how we're able to mitigate the Lifetap, you know, 135 times 3.39, just to give you some context, it's quite a lot of, you know, HP being drained per second. So 135 times 3.39. So we're going to be having to sustain 457 HP per second. Luckily, we have 499 life regen, and we're not running blood rage, so we don't have to worry about degen. So this is letting us basically run Lifetap with regenning our health. Now there's a little bit of a problem here, and that is that we can't run less recovery maps, and we absolutely cannot run no regen maps because our HP isn't going to be regenning enough or regenning at all, and that's a very big problem, and we will just die because we won't have any other way apart from a health flask to sustain our HP. And you know how that goes with the new flask changes. You're not going to be able to health flask nearly as much because the amount of flask charges gains are much lower. So you're going to be in a bit of a pickle. So I would rather that you just don't try those maps because they're going to be very, very, very difficult. Okay, so you're probably wondering, is this build tanky? It's only got, 4,800 HP. Now, this build is actually very, very tanky. We have the Avatar of the Veil, of course, which gives you ailment immune with the other changes. And we get 15% chance dodge, attack, and spell. We're also using Dark Ray Vectors, which give us a bit more attack dodge per frenzy charge, which is pretty nice. And those boots are pretty good. I'm not sure what their price is early though. And if you don't want to use those, you can use an Inzuri Step as well. They're pretty good, but you'll lose a bit of damage, but not too much damage, so you don't have to worry too much about that. And other than that, we have Wind Dancer, and we have 35 evade chance. If we get hit, our evade chance goes to 47. Now, unfortunately, we can't really run Flesh and Stone. We're very, very, very stressed on mana. We don't have that much. If you can see our unreserved mana, it is 94. We can't really use anything else, and the only auras we're using without Enlighten is Vitality and Malevolence. So it's really, really tricky to add anything else in here. And we do use an Arcanist Brand Despair so that we have a bit more boss DPS, and then you're going to have to Wither Totem on top. So the damage here is quite accurate. It's about 900k, and if you include Caustic Arrow, which I added on a 4 link in the body armor, it's going to be about 1 million DPS, something along those lines. And okay, so let's quickly talk about the gear. So this bow, I'll show you how to craft this. It's really simple, but it is a bit expensive. This was the cost this is probably going to be the most expensive part of your build. And before that, you can run a Silver Branch, which is more budget, and you do lose more damage here. So you could probably use a Silver Branch for white maps, and yellow maps you might need to change to an actual proper bow. Okay, so how can you get this bow? Sure. So you have two options. You have Imperial Legacy, and you're going to have to buy 22 cards. And this is the better option if you can afford this, because eye level 100 means you can basically get any modifier. The Porcupine, on the other hand, is only 6 cards, but it's eye level 50, which is really bad because it won't allow us to roll +2 socketed bow gems, and it will only be +1. So whatever one you can afford, you need to buy that, but I do recommend going for Imperial Legacy if you can. And now what you want to do is get a Corroded, Jagged, and Metallic Fossil, like on a 3-socket Resonator. Now this is about 15c per try, and you just kind of need to settle and be happy with as soon as you get +1, +2. And if you don't hit +1, +2 for too long, you need to just scrap the idea and just use the bow because you're going to waste too much currency. So as you can see, we hit this. Now I wouldn't really recommend using this. I would not be happy with this, so I would go again. I'm not happy with this, so I would go again. This is terrible, I would go again. This is terrible, I would go again. Okay, so we hit T1 damage over time multiplier, we hit socketed gems, and we have an empty prefix for anything else. So I would actually use this because we rolled something actually really, really good. You're probably not going to roll T1 damage over time multiplier, but you know, it's we got very, very lucky. So the one craft that you could do is, obviously this would be the craft, but I don't think you're going to be able to do this early league. This is going to be very expensive, but this will be the optimal thing to put onto the bow. Obviously this will be, the best thing, and then obviously with Empower, but at this point we don't have Empower, so this isn't as impactful. In fact, it's not that good. And I don't know why on the bench there's still, oh wait, there isn't. Okay, yeah, I don't know why it's still here, because you're not going to be able to do this next league, I don't think, or maybe you will, because they changed the chaos damage and damage over time both to suffixes, so I don't know if that's going to be possible. But let's say worst case scenario, you can't craft anything, just do this mod, and then we would copy that to clipboard. You would create custom, and we can just call it, second less ideal bow, right? And we'll create that. As you can see, we do lose damage. And if you see here, oh, well, we actually gain damage. Okay, never mind. Okay, second ideal bow. There you go. Okay, so the damage over time multiplier is actually pretty good. So yeah, so that is the type of bow you want to make and use, and that will probably carry you until red maps. And then after that, you're obviously going to make some more upgrades, more endgame oriented upgrades, which I'm not going to cover this video because I already have a guide on an endgame toxic rain build. But yeah. So rare quiver, obviously you want resist as well if you can, but attack speed and life is important here. And then we have strength, which is important on the helmet or the belt. You can choose where you want to get it, or your rings as well. Strength is very flexible stat. And then obviously life and resists. Cherry Bims, I'm not sure the price of this early. If it's too expensive, you're not losing too much. It is a bit of damage, but you can just use an evasion chest with some HP if you want. It's up to you. It's quite flexible. But obviously Cherry Bims, we use it because it gives quite a bit of damage. And now we have gloves with life, and you obviously want resist on this too. Dark Ray Vectors is a nice choice. And okay, so another question that you're probably going to ask is, how are you generating frenzy charges when toxic rain doesn't really hit? So we have an 84% hit chance, which is kind of low, but it's not too bad at the same time. And with this, you basically gain frenzy charges when you hit a rare or unique enemy, and we're going to be able to hit a rare or unique enemy quite a lot since our attack speed is kind of decent. So we are going to gain frenzy charges in a boss fight with this. Now, if you find this to be very unreliable and you don't like it, you can actually unspec our frenzies and take the avatar of the chase, and obviously disable frenzy charges. But you can see that the damage drops quite significantly without frenzy charges, and obviously you'd have to reroute out of the frenzy charges. But frenzy charges are a very, very easy way to multiply your damage early, when especially on a budget. So I don't really recommend going for that. And if you see here the damage difference between Avatar of the Slaughter and Rapid Assault, so now we're at 970k. If we undo that, we're at 930k. So it is better to go for Avatar of the Slaughter since we're scaling so many frenzy charges. Okay, next thing, if you also don't want to use the boots, it's not a big deal. You can use an Azeri step, but you can see we lose a bit of damage there. Next, you need a lot of intelligence on your amulet, ideally, or your rings. It's up to you where you want to get it, but we need a lot of intelligence. If you see here, we need, quite a decent amount. Int required 111, and it's mainly because of efficacy and conk effect. And I'll talk about why we're using conk effect as well. And then we just have a leather belt, and you want resist on that too. Now, I don't have flasks here, mainly to simulate the situation where flasks might be not as powerful this league and they're just bad. So I'm just not going to put flasks there. But if you want to add flasks yourself and see what what flask you want to use, that is up to you. Obviously, I recommend to use a live flask. But other than that, I'm I'm not too bothered about flasks this league, I won't lie. And Dying Sun is not a league start option, so please don't comment that, because it's very expensive early usually, and I'm not sure if it's even that good this league. So now let's talk about the link. So obviously running Lifetap, as I said. Now you want to be leveling toxic rains in your offhand, okay? You want to be leveling 6 of them, and you want to corrupt them when they hit level 20 for 21. You do not want any quality on toxic rain, because if you see, the quality gives AoE, and AoE is actually quite bad for this build now. They've changed toxic rain last patch in 3.14, and ever since then toxic rain has not been good with AoE. Now we've got Lifetap, we've got Mirage Archer, which obviously is really nice. Now, if you're rolling in the money, you really want to get the Divergent Mirage Archer, which gives 20% increased skill effect duration to supported skills, which is really good. Next up, we have Conk Effect. Now, we actually lost a lot of damage this patch, guys, and Conk Effect mitigates some of the damage loss. Even though Conk Effect got nerfed, it's still a really high damage support gem compared to anything else. If you see here, the only thing that beats is Empower, but I'm not putting Empower in here simply because it's not league start friendly on day 1, day 2. So just keep that in mind. I'm not going to put Empower here. But yeah, you could replace Conk Effect with Empower later on if you want, and make sure it's an Empower 3 or 4. If you see here, Empower 3 is really good, and Empower 4 is insane. And then if you get +2 support gems, you can really scale the damage well on your bow. And then we run efficacy for the skill effect duration and decent damage over time, and then obviously void manipulation. You're probably wondering why we're not running vicious projectiles, but unfortunately it gives a bit too much of a downside, which is 10% less projectile attack speed, which is really, really bad for us. Okay, so now we run Caustic Aragon and Falling. This will just help a little bit, killing some monsters like white packs and stuff like that that are lingering around or far away. We run it on Arrow Nova to get a lot of coverage. Vicious projectiles for high damage and void manipulation for high damage. Attack speed is less of an issue on Caustic Arrow, so that's why we run vicious projectiles here. Attack speed actually affects Toxic Rain way more than Caustic Arrow, that's why we're able to run vicious here. Next we have Vitality and Malevolence, pretty standard. Arcanist Brand with Despair, Wither Totems, and Flame Dash Second Wind. Now we are going to have some open gen slots, we are going to have stuff like that, so feel free to play around with it. This is nothing set in stone. I just wanted to give you guys a base tree that you can work with as a league start. You can use this on day 1, day 2, and you will probably be able to do yellow and white maps pretty easily. And if you can't, let me know as well. But I think I've actually tested this myself, this type of build with this amount of investment, and you are able to do even early red maps with this because you're really tanky. Unfortunately, we can't run, like Flesh and Stone, which I'd really like to run. But yeah, it is what it is. And oh yeah, one thing I would really recommend, guys, everyone has been saying that Jade Flask is really, really good. So I do recommend using a Jade Flask. In fact, I'll actually put one in. So if we go to Flask Utility, we go to Jade Flask over here. And then, it doesn't really matter what it has on it. But Jade Flask has been, it's apparently it's pretty good. So just use that for the evasion rating. And yeah, I think that would be my one very high recommendation flask. But yeah, guys, I think that's it for this video. I hope this helped you out. And yeah, if you have any questions, please leave it down below because I will be able to answer them. I know this build pretty well. And yeah, please subscribe as well if you enjoy this type of content. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.